Doomsday cultists love to show you this graph. It's the same one that Al Gore used in his movie with the clips plagiarized from other fictional movies. It shows the years from about 1850 to the year 2000, and nothing from before 1850 and nothing from the past 10 years, because it's been getting cooler. Now here are some graphs you don't see. When you look at all the data, which is about 100 times more than the slice that Gore used, you see that this is a normal cycle. And it's been going on since before humans were even on the planet. That's right, granolas, you're not the center of the universe, and you're not as big and important as you thought you were. The Earth will go on with or without you.
Now, was that so hard to explain? It took less than 1 minute.
That's what happens when you allow the other side to talk instead of labeling them quacks or in league with big oil. All the climate change group has is the typical prejudice leftist projection tactic of labeling the other side as prejudice. They can't make an argument based on the data unless only their tiny slice of data is allowed. Claiming 97% of scientists agree with the IPCC's numbers really doesn't matter. If your premise is wrong, your conclusion is wrong. If you give people the wrong data, of course they're going to get the conclusion that you force them to get. But if you're lying about the data, then agreement upon it is irrelevant.
That's the problem. On television, you'll get the global cultist thing. You won't get the counter argument because they won't allow it to be presented. But they don't have a counter to the counter argument. Before humans were on the Earth, these were the temperature cycles. That is the end of discussion. It's over. It is a natural consequence of where we live. It has nothing to do with CO2. That is an excuse to get a carbon tax, and these environmental groups in general exist for people who are psychologically ill to attach themselves to a cause, and they're out there stealing land from people, creating taxes, and profiting. It is not based on science. It is purely like a religious cult. These environmental extremists are ruining people's lives. What they do is they start with a conclusion and then work to see how they can make data fit that. So they cherry pick information and they ignore all the rest of it. And that's not science. That's pseudoscience. That is the very definition of pseudoscience. Global warming is bull.
Science was also bullied into saying there are 32 genders. This is not a biological claim. This is a claim based on identity, not biology. It has become a political problem, not a scientific problem. Global warming and climate change are very much not a scientific issue. They are a political issue. Politics and economics pressure science, bully science into getting the only solutions that they are allowed to have. Every scientist knows there are 2 genders, but they get bullied into saying otherwise. And there are plenty of scientists who know the sky is falling. Childlike tantrum behavior is not warranted, but they are bullied into silence. I would like to explain to you, in light of Greta Thunberg and other Chicken Little tactic child stomping crybullies, essentially pushing austerity and control freak mentality over others with an environmental theme. What the scam of carbon credits really is. Regardless of what you think about how or why or how much the Earth is warming, the proposed government solutions don't even lower greenhouse emissions. All they do is create an expensive middleman. The normal process as it stands now is like this. Raw resources are processed by factories and businesses into finished products, which consumers buy, so their money goes to the factory, and some pollution will be made in this process. The government solution is the exact same thing, only they allow more pollution so long as these factories and businesses buy carbon credits from the IPCC, which is just a clique of elitist control freaks that say you have to buy carbon credits for us so that you have an allotment of how much you can pollute, how much you can produce. Which means it's going to cost more for factories and businesses to make finished products, which means it's going to cost more for consumers to buy these products. It's just like a sales tax. What happens when the sales tax goes up? Let's say it goes from 6% to 8%. Does the factory actually pay anything more? Not really. You do. Every item in the store just goes up 2%. It's whatever the price was plus the tax. If the tax goes up, then the tax is higher. And all that happens is you have to pay more when you go shopping. It's not really a punishment on the factory. It's mostly a punishment on you, the public. That's who's really going to have to pay for the carbon credits. These people will make trillions because there are so many products and transactions, and if they have to buy carbon credits because the government forces it, then they have a nice middleman that can profit from pollution. That doesn't mean they're going to make less pollution if they're making profits from it. You have carte blanche to make as much as you want. Double the pollution we have now by 2030, no problem. There is an extra layer of evil here, though. Smaller businesses, in agribusiness especially, you've all heard the cow farts motif. They have to decide whether they want to sell their allotments to a third party or purchase credits themselves, but they're only allowed to produce X amount. Well, these bigger businesses are happy to buy from the smaller ones rather than from the IPCC, which they're allowed to do. But that would give them a tighter monopoly around distribution, because these smaller factories and businesses, why should they produce and work when they can just sell their allotment and make money from that? And so your ranches and all your agribusiness is going to get more and more monopolized, which takes out competition, which means the prices are going to go up. In addition to that, they're going up because of this carbon credit system. So they're going to make more money. They're going to make more money. And you are either going to have to buy less stuff, have less stuff, or pay more. And you usually have to pay for things that you can't say no to, like gasoline. You just have to have a certain... Not many people just drive around for fun. They drive to work and back. They drive to school and back. They're not just driving for the sake of driving. Most people don't even like to drive. They just do it because it's a necessity. It will not curb pollution. It has nothing to do with the environment. This is about creating a middleman so that they can enrich themselves off of the process of people buying things. They're using Chicken Little tactics to scare you into saying that the end is near. And they have government-funded pressure groups to get the Paris Accords signed by different nations. Pollution is not reduced. Production and consumption are simply made more expensive by creating a do-nothing middleman under the theme of environmentalism. And a lot of these environmentalists, if you scratch them, they're watermelons. Green on the outside, red on the inside. Communist. Be sure to smash that like button, share, and subscribe. And you can get a whole lot more content by following us on Patreon. If you'd like to know more about the 97% figure and where that actually comes from and how it is not what it seems, click the video below.